Good afternoon, Youngstown. This is Superintendent Jeremy Batchelor back with another episode of Belly Left Leadership. Took a little bit of summer hiatus, but we are back in full swing here in the Youngstown City Schools, off to a really good start. But we are here with our Belly Left Leadership podcast. And remember, the Belly Left Leadership mantra is based off of a simple football play, but it is not really about football, but we'll make it about football, especially today with my guests. But remember, the belly play is a simple play, but it is about execution, preparation, everyone understanding their assignment, and then working together as a team to make sure that we run it, and we run it well, and we run it until they stop it. And so today, I have great pleasure to introduce and interview and talk with our two high school head football coaches from East High School, Mr. Devlin Culliver, and then from Chaney High School, Mr. Seth Antrim. Special congratulations out to both these gentlemen. They both got big victories over the weekend. And then Coach Antrim was voted Coach of the Year, Coach of the Week, I believe, from one of the local media outlets. So, we're off to a good start in the district overall. And I really wanted to spend some time talking with these individuals about what they do in athletics as our football coaches, but also their story as leaders, because as football coaches, I've said for years, as a high school principal and as a superintendent, I'm not the most important man in the school district. These two gentlemen really are. They don't know it or not, because they are the ones who control what a lot of our young men want. They control that playing time. They control that ability to get out on the football field and express themselves, and they have an opportunity to influence lives like no other. And these two individuals do that at a high level. And I just want to be fully transparent and put out here both these individuals I have a high level of respect for. A few years ago, my one son actually did some volunteer coaching over at Chaney with Mr. Antrim. And to this day, when I talk to him, he lives down in North Carolina now. He asked, first question he asked, how's Seth doing? So he had a great influence on him. And then this young man right here, I consider one of my big brothers. I watched him growing up down at the old St. Pat's School, and then, of course, at Cardinal Mooney High School. And then you can blame some of my faults on him, because he actually coached me for a couple of years when we were in high school. So when I was in high school. So, gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. I'm going to stop talking, and let's talk to you guys. And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Antrim. Tell us about your background and your experience as a coach, and what you've done and how you've gotten here today.
Yeah, so after I graduated YSU, I moved down to North Carolina, which we have that experience in common. I was down there 7 years at Jacksonville, from 2008 to 2015, and then was fortunate enough to come back here, got hired in Youngstown City Schools as a PE teacher at Volney.
Yep.
In that same year, I kind of got hired on as a quality control coach at YSU for Coach Bellini, Coach Carm, Shane Montgomery, some of those guys I had reached out to. Was there for 2 seasons, was able to go to the national championship with them in 2016. And then, once Chaney started getting the ball rolling to bring athletics back, I was right here. I was in the area, knew I wanted to be a high school coach, jumped on here as the offensive coordinator. Was here a few years, took the head job at Boardman, and the opportunity opened to come back, and came back as the head coach.
We won't talk too much about that, folks. Boardman's still a little mad at me right now, but we love it. That and I say this, we talk about defending the why. Coach Antrim, he chose Youngstown, and we appreciate that. And then you mentioned Coach Bellini, I believe was one of your former teammates, right?
Yes.
All right, so we all have a connection here. So talk to us about your experience, Coach.
Well, I started coaching in Cardinal Mooney in 1991. And that was my first year as a high school coach. I was a tight ends coach, DB coach. And from there, I moved up to Cleveland and got my first head job in 1999 at East Cleveland Shaw.
Okay.
And so that's where I sort of made a name for myself at. And over these last 25, 30 years, I've been in a couple different schools. And it was just, the right time for me to come back home.
Yeah.
And be here with my mom, closer to my mom, and also come back home just to because I wanted to be back home. You know, I've been gone for so long. Opportunity to take over East High came about, and I took it.
All right. So this past weekend, you had a chance to compete against your former colleagues up at East Cleveland, and you got a big victory. What inspired you guys? And we'll start with you, Coach Culver. What inspired you to become a coach, and particularly at the high school level?
Well, originally I didn't want to be a football coach at all. You know, I had a job in Chicago, graphic design company. I had a job there, and I just happened to go down to talk to Coach Butchie at Mooney just on a humbug. Went down and started talking to him. He said, "You know, when does your job start?" I said, "It starts in January, Coach." He said, "Well, why don't you coach football?" I said, "Well, I don't want to coach football." But if anyone knows Coach Butchie, he doesn't take no for an
I
answer.
don't know how that conversation went.
He said, "Go buy a whistle and be here tomorrow morning because you're going to start coaching." So of course I did what he asked me to do, and then when I started coaching, I liked it. You know, it was fun, and I saw that I had an influence over the kids, and so I went back to college and got my teacher certificate so I could be a full-time coach and a teacher.
So you mentioned something. You mentioned artistic. You know, so a lot of people don't know you have an art degree, and
Yes.
you taught art, and you also have a degree in reading specialist.
Yep.
A lot of football coaches don't necessarily have those credentials, though. So
No, they don't.
So kudos to you, Coach Anderson. Talk to me about what inspired you to become a coach.
I think I knew probably junior high football. Our football coach was our head baseball coach. I was a football, baseball guy. And then going down to North Carolina, I kind of wanted to be head baseball coach, offensive coordinator. That was always the goal. Down there, you have spring football. So spring came, and I had to make a decision. You know, one fall down there, I knew like football was what I was going to concentrate on, and just stuck it out the football route. And it was, you know, a very similar situation to what we're here at Chaney, and just love coaching that and the impact you have outside of the game.
I spent some time, as folks know, I spent some time in North Carolina, not about an hour from where Coach Anderson was at. And, you know, good football down there, good folks. I'm sure he can probably tell you some stories that are a little different in terms of how things happen down there, but, you know, good experience. So how do you encourage your team to balance athletics and academics? Because before I say that, I think I want the community to know and understand that, you know, we all love sports. I'm a former player, coached a little while from middle school. But I believe that we all believe that, you know, we believe in our scholars to be scholar athletes first. So how do you get your players to balance athletics and academics? We'll start with you.
I think a lot of what we get our guys to do is through our relationship with them and the time we spend with them. And if we value the educational side of things and put an emphasis on it, our kids are going to respond to that. Obviously, you're going to put time away from football and have your study tables and grade checks and that stuff. But even just our discussions and some of our guys, their eyes open as they get older.
Yes.
The freshman year, they're coming in something new. But we're to the point now where our seniors will talk to the younger guys about how they made some mistakes early on. And that might have more of an impact than us coaches talking to them.
Absolutely. That's powerful.
That's sort of similar to what Coach said. You know, sometimes, you know, I had to realize that sometimes the only reason a kid will come to school is because they want to play sports.
Mm-hmm.
So at times, you know, I'll use that as a carrot to get them to come every day. Mm-hmm. And like Coach said, you know, eventually we hope they'll grow into the academic part and understand that football is just a game and academics is going to help them for the rest of their life. You know, but I just try to take them wherever they come in at. You know, if the only reason why they come is because they want to play football, then okay, let that be your reason. Because everybody has a reason as to why they do everything.
Absolutely.
Some people go to work because they want money.
Mm-hmm.
That's your motivation to go to work every day. You might hate your job, but you'll go because you're going to get paid. It's no different with a kid in sports. I don't want to go to school, but I'm going to go because I want to play football. So I just try to use that and, you know, eventually flip it around so they understand that academics part is the most important part.
So you meet them where they are, but we don't stay there where they are.
Right.
I love that. All right. Well, in today's world, you know, things are a little different than when we played. And our kids are dealing with a lot of things. I mean, not to say that we didn't as well, but, you know, mental health is definitely something that is impacting our world.
Yeah.
And I don't think our scholar athletes are exempt from that. So how do you support your players' mental health? If you can.
Well, you know, that's tough. You know, like you said, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's definitely different now. I had to adjust how I approach coaching, I had to make the adjustment instead of trying to force the kid to make the adjustment.
Okay.
You know, the old school way of coaching doesn't work anymore for this generation. So I had to back up off the do it because I said so and run through a wall for me. These kids don't look at football that way anymore. They look at it as, well, coach is yelling at me, and they take it personal.
Yeah.
And when we got yelled at, we didn't care. We knew we were getting yelled at because of football.
Right.
If you yell at some of these kids now, even if it's over football, they take it as a personal attack.
Yeah.
And then you got to spend time trying to get that part together. You know, the hard part is, you know, and I was talking to my staff about it the other day, and I'm sure Coach agreed with me. You know, a lot of times we only really get to coach about 60% of football. You know, and that other 40% we're dealing with different issues that the young men have, but it's part of the job. And, you know, and kudos to both of us because we still able to put a quality product on the field.
Absolutely.
And we don't get a chance to really do it 100% like we would want to, like other schools get to do.
So let's talk about it. Let's dig into that a little bit, and we'll come back to you, Coach. I mean, you have listen. I know your pedigree and where you come from, and who coached you, and how you were coached. Because I was coached the same way. And Seth, I know you. You know, you've come from the same generation as a coach. How have you been able to make that adjustment? Because I'm being honest, it would be hard for me. It would be hard. That's why I don't coach. So how do you make that adjustment?
I had to honestly step back and just tell myself what I'm doing is not working anymore.
Okay.
And it was a fast transition.
Okay.
You know, I talked to some of my former players who only played for me 10, 11 years ago. And they were like, Coach, these kids are so different from we were.
Yeah.
They thought they were out of line and they thought they were acting up all the time, but compared to what they're seeing now, it's not even a comparison. You know, I just had to figure out different strategies to get the same old school point across.
Okay.
You know, instead of maybe yelling, maybe now we'll pull the kid to the side and tell him the same thing I would say 20 years ago out loud to everybody. I would just have to talk him through it, get him to be better motivated.
Coaches out there taking notes. Coach Andrew?
I was kind of fortunate when I was in Jacksonville. I got to see both ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
Our head coach was a former defensive coordinator. He was probably, you know, in his 40s, later 30s, got the head job, ended up hiring his father to be our offensive coordinator. His father was old school as you get. And I saw how Bo, our head coach, would kind of – the kids would respond to Coach Chip, and Coach Chip, while he was down there, he was in the North Carolina Hall of Fame while he was coming back to help us. You know, and because of the wins and stuff, the kids responded. But I also saw how Bo was the middleman for that stuff and kind of go and maybe, you know, translate it into something a little bit more that the kids responded to get the same point across. But I kind of got to see the step from the past of how things were to how they're going to be. So I benefited greatly from that.
So now let's talk a little bit more about football. Tell us about a particularly successful game or season that stands out in your career.
Well, my first league championship at East Cleveland Shaw was real special to me because, you know, similar situation that I'm dealing with at East. You know, we took over a program that didn't have a lot of wins, you know, didn't have a lot of numbers. And we were able to go from 3-7 to 8-2 within, you know, 2 or 3 years. And
what year was that, Coach?
that was in 2001.
Okay.
And so we played in a championship game. That was my first league championship. It was a real special day for me. And great group of kids that we still stay in contact to this day. As a matter of fact, they all came up to the game last Friday over at Shaw.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was a real special time for me.
All right. What about you, Coach?
For me, probably 2022 beating Canfield.
Okay.
And, you know, they went on to win the state championship, but not just beating them, but being able to do it the way we did. It was a pick six in the fourth quarter where we had, you know, multiple times we could have quit, given up on ourselves and not made a play late in the game. But they were bought in, working hard, and we won a game late against a really good team.
I remember that game. All right. So tell us about your why. So one of the themes that we've been talking about this year is defending the why, defending Youngstown. But our why? Why are we here? What are we here for? So tell us, tell us about your why. Why Youngstown? Why Youngstown City Schools? Because you guys could be coaches anywhere. I mean, you were. Why Youngstown?
Well, I had spent, the last 30 years helping other communities out as far as, coaching football and helping out young men in different communities. And it was just time for me to come back and help my own community out and give them, what I have been giving all these other kids over the years, even my own sons, I neglected them to a certain extent because I was reaching out to other young men, trying to get them together. And so it was just time for me to come home. And, my love for young men and trying to see them be successful has been my drive, since I started coaching. Since Coach Butcher got me into coaching, I knew then that this could be something special for me. And over the years, I've started to understand more and more that it's never, ever really been about football anyway.
That's it.
It's just always been about, the experience that the kids have, having them be successful in life. And you just use football as a tool just to try to get them there.
Absolutely.
Same thing. I mean, it's the kids, it's the players, the the guys we work with.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've got a decent experience going outside of here and at the college level, and I just want to be able to come back here and give back to our kids and on and off the field, just give them exposure and experience to kind of open some doors for them down the road.
All right. And you guys are both doing all of those things, and I know Youngstown is. I'm glad to have you, and I believe our entire community is. And the proof is in the pudding. Both programs on solid footing right now. Whether we get the wins or losses or not, wins are going to come. There's going to be some losses, but I believe what we're producing with our young people and the experiences that you guys are giving them are second to none. So thank you for what you do. So this is a leadership podcast, big on leadership and the impact that leadership has on organizations. And in this case, our district, but also our entire community is really what this podcast is about. So I'll start with you, Coach Antrim. What does leadership mean to you?
You could look at a football or your anything. To me, it's getting a group of individuals to work towards a common goal. We're trying to get wins, but more than that, like we all talked about, we're trying to get these guys some opportunities later on in life. And, we're in a pretty unique situation here doing it. You get a wide range of, mental health and that stuff that we talked about. But to me, that's what it's about. And we're fortunate to have, people in the district that are on the same page and see that same thing from top to bottom and put our guys around adults in our building and on the field that support those goals.
Just to piggyback off what Coach said, it's just trying to lead the young men the best way we can, and we're trying to be the best example that we could be as adults. We make mistakes too, but I was fortunate when I was young to I played for the Hackstrom House Braves, and I was a quarterback. And my coaches, they always told me to be a leader. They said, when we lose, you got to be a leader. When we win, you got to be a leader. So I learned as a kid there was some pressure trying to be a leader of other people. And so when I got into coaching, it was the same thing. It's hard being a leader, especially when times are bad. But that's also built my character, to be mentally tough, and we try to spill that onto the kids and show them a good example of, not to panic when stuff is going wrong, whether it's at home, whether it's in the game. So leadership is just, is mainly through the tougher times than it is. It's easy to be a leader through the easy times. It's hard to do it through the tough times.
Yeah, no doubt. Just talking to you guys is refreshing because I do, Coach, you said, I think we have a group of individuals in this district that, with the right people on the bus in the right seats, and we just got to keep moving forward. So before we get ready to close, are there any last things that, either one of you would like to say to the community, to your school community, to the entire community about what you believe about this district, or just anything, any message you want to leave with our community?
Just to support the kids and and come out to the games. We need more parents to come to the games, support the young men. Whether we win or lose, and just cheer us on. And be supportive as best you can. We have the best interest for your sons. All the time. There's not a time where we're not trying to watch out for them, make sure they're doing okay, and we want the best for them.
Yeah, that's it. Just we're always, we're grinding for those guys, and we appreciate, some more support with that stuff, showing up in the stands for them. That the guys deserve it. They work hard.
Well, as my dad would say, the pastor has spoken, and no need for me to really say anymore. But I'll echo that. I mean, we defending the why is showing up for our kids as well. It's all of us, and so I appreciate these guys and what they do and their entire staffs. And later on in another episode, we're going to talk to our district athletic director, Mr. Nick Farah, He's put together a great team, including these guys, to move us forward with our athletics on behalf of our scholar athletes. So, as we conclude this episode of Belly Left Leadership, just want to remind you that the Belly Left Leadership mantra is about execution, preparation, everybody knowing their assignments and executing it well. And these individuals right here exemplify that. So let's keep running it until they stop it.
This podcast is the property of Showfit Broadcasting and Youngstown City Schools. Showfit audio and video broadcasting students recorded and produced this episode.